Hey guys, today I'm gonna show you how to achieve this rainbow colorful metal effect in your coloring books. I thought about doing the whole color alone video for this double page spread, but when I started to work on it on camera, I failed miserably. You can see my attempts here. I thought I could handle this paper without any preparation, just work on the paper itself with Polychromos and Prismacolors, and I will be delighted with the result, which was absolutely not true. So I did the acrylic background black first, and then I started to color with my pencils, and I could not achieve the brightness I was looking for, the saturation of the colors I was looking for, and moreover, the paper started to wearing off very fast and I could not layer as much as I can. I have Russian edition of the Kirby Rezen's Imagimorphia book, and the paper is, well, it's okay. It's not the best paper in the world, obviously, but it's not the worst I worked with. It leaving no place for a lot of experimentation with layers, and this is what I needed for this project. So I decided to turn off the camera and just try a lot of different stuff, and I ended up with the solid color combination. I had to make a foundation with Teir acrylic paint, and after all of this, and also experimenting with different types of layering to achieve the effect I was looking for, I ended up with this result, which I'm very proud of, despite I'm not being very satisfied with the way I transition between colors, especially between blue and purple. I still got the result I'm willing to show you how to create. We will work on this wing. I don't think that I will color the whole wing in this video because this one took me about 2 weeks. Yeah, not all of these days were coloring days, as I usually say, but still, it's a lot hours of work. So we will color only a part of the wing today, and but I will try to show you all the pencils and all the colors and how to transition between them in the best way. So yeah, let's start. I want to begin with pencil colors, the color palette, which is very convoluted. You will see this in a minute. And this is the part of the reason why this process didn't work as color alone, because the color combination is not as straightforward as I wanted it to be, but that's okay. So we can split the color combos on 4 sections. The first section is the blue one, the second section is purple one, the third section is everything about gold, and you can see there is a lot of colors here because there is actually 2 types of gold on this part. There is this red gold and pale yellowish gold. So, and the transition between the first and the second one. So this is why it takes like a lot of colors. And actually this purple doing a lot for this color combination. So this purple actually work in the purple combinations and in the gold combinations as well. And the last one is green combos. So as you can see, I'm using a lot of different pencil brands for this page. This is because I thought about using only Polychromos, but unfortunately I couldn't find all the specific shades in Polychromos that I wanted to. So I used a little bit of Prismacolors and Brutfuner as well. And I want to share with you one thing. This is my color chart for all the pencils I own. So I got rid of Castle Arts pencils because I was not very fond of them. I had not a gold edition, but their basic edition of Castle Arts, and their wax pencils were not the best one I worked with, and I decided just to get rid of them as a whole. So here in this chart, you see all my Prismacolors, all my Polychromos, all the Brutfuners, Macaron. I don't have the whole Brutfuner set on the Macaron one, and also Jota Stil Nova, which are surprisingly good pencils. I'm really found working with them. So I'm using them from time to time, but not in these color combos. I try to use as little different pencil set as I could, but I still used most of them. So when I was creating my pencils combinations, color combinations, I usually look at this chart, trying to find the shades that will work best. So yeah, this is the first, I don't know, tip. Creating this chart took me about 3 to 4 hours, but this instrument is so really valuable for me because I don't mind blending different pencil sets together, and I like to compare the shades, and this chart is just a perfect solution for this task. All right, so I forgot about two more very valuable pencils. It's white and black. I like Prismacolor White because it also works as blender. I'm sorry for all the noises that you hear. It's just because we live near the police station, so there will be a lot of this. Okay, so why I'm using Polychromos black and not Prismacolor one? Because I have no Prismacolor black. As I usually say in my videos, I don't have the full Prismacolor set. I bought my set second-handed and there were some colors missing. So this is why Polychromos black. And I'm actually very satisfied with this Polychromos black because after applying on the paper, it looked exactly like this black background that which I did with Citadel paints, acrylic paints. It's paints for miniature painting, not for painting on paper, but I had them and they still work great. So I will leave all the pencil numbers in the description below, so you can find the whole color chart here. Now let me change the setup for the camera and we will dive right into our coloring. Okay, so for the left wing, I worked from the outer edge to the middle, and now we will do the opposite scene. We will work from the middle to the outer edge. I think we will do this part, all these knives, so you can see the whole colors transition on this example, and the rest of it you can work out yourself. The main thing that you will learn today is just how to grasp this concept of high contrast and smooth color transition, how to achieve them, and also how to do this texture I used for the page. It's very similar to creating the hair texture actually, but a little bit different. If you don't like it, if you want all your details to be just as smooth as possible, you can just use the layering I will show you for the small details. So as you can see here, is on this detail there is no texture. For this particular piece I prefer to use the textured method, and maybe you will like it as well. We will start with green. I highly recommend you not be greedy and sharpen your pencils as you need them, because it will make your work so much easier. Really, can't recommend this enough. So I think something like this is actually enough. Okay, and the last thing before we begin, I used Tair acrylic paint for the foundation for this page, because it makes the layering process on this paper a lot easier. Also, it helps me with hiding the black lines, though we will recreate most of the black lines, because with metal you really need this high contrast and you need the very clear definition between details. It will help you to make the piece like readable for the viewer, but covering the black lines with Tair will help us to bring some new color and not only the black one to the lines. So I'm usually starting with darker tone to set the shades first, but the point is, if you start with a darker tone, you will have a more dark detail. If you start with a lighter tone, you will have a lighter detail. So you should really think about what you want to achieve for this detail. Do you want it to be very highlighted? And I especially recommend it for the large details and also for those that you want to be the center of the viewer attention. But for all these very small details on the background, I recommend to start with proper shading, because for them you want to go as dark as you possibly can without losing the definition of the piece. So this is what I'm doing. I'm starting with our colored pencil and just defining these small pipes, just separating them from each other. As I said, in a nutshell, we're just a little bit recreating the dark lines we covered and then adding a little bit more shades to it. Don't press on your pencil too hard. You will need this extra tools later because we will use a lot of layers. Only by using a lot of layers you can create the color depths you are looking for. Okay, now we're going with our second color. It's a bit, it will give us a bit yellow, so don't go overboard with it. And you still have to leave a lot of space uncovered. Not like a lot, but some space in order to be able to create a highlight. So basically I'm just covering the whole space we already covered with our dark pencil and a little bit more. This is how layering worked for me in miniature painting, and this is actually how layering is working well with colored pencils. Okay, as you can see, we already lost a little bit of this definition, not all of it, but some, and we will use our black pencil later to re-establish it. Okay, now we will use a little bit of our lightest pencil, just a slight touch to smudge the edge of the previous tone, and we will still have some uncovered white space. So this is basically it. Now we have to work with our black. So with black pencil we will set the detail definition, as I already said before. So we will work around these details where we will have a very prominent shadow and add a bit of black in the most shaded places. But don't go overboard. I think this is like literally enough. And now we will go back to our dark green and smudge the black lines a little bit. Okay, now we could go inside with a white pencil and just smudge all of this, but I really recommend you to do at least some details around before you do that, because after putting your detail in context, it will start to look a bit different. So maybe you would need some more tools on the paper to work on it. A small tip: if you're working on Tire acrylic paint, chances are that you will be always able to go with black pencils on top, because it have a very good coverage, and yeah, chances are you can go darker if you need so. But if you already burnished your surface very well, maybe the option to change the shade of the color will be limited. So just keep that in mind. And we will just move on to the other details, like this. I think I added a bit more yellow to the previous details that I wanted. So the middle color of this combination gives a slight yellow color. So keep that in mind. It's important for color transitions. Yeah. To make a piece more interesting, I recommend you think about the difference between shiny objects and matte objects. So you don't want to make all your details very shiny, because yeah, maybe it will add to the readability of the piece, but it will be very repetitive and boring for the viewer. So not everything should have like this very shiny finish. Okay, as you can see here, I'm just adding a bit yellow to the green, to the dark green, and almost no separate yellow layer. Like this, I guess. Okay, and now we need to add the definition between our details, and I press quite hard on this pencil now to add this separation. Okay, I need more light. It's spring, so the weather is really unstable. When you're working on the detail, I recommend you to think about the shape of the detail. So where the highlight will be. Just imagine the shape, and with metal you can create very random highlights, because yeah, metal when it's very reflective, it's creating a lot of highlights. It's not the casual object with only one highlight, or maybe it's the second reflection as well, but yeah, you got it. So you can create a lot of different highlights. Is just, yeah, the only limitation is your imagination. Okay, I'm adding a bit more yellow, and now I want to add a lot of this light green to smudge everything a bit. So I'm still leaving the white uncovered space, but I'm adding a lot of. And be careful when you're working with Brutfuner Macaron, because they burnish the paper really well, and if you go overboard, you might not have another chance to add any other color on top. This is what sometimes happens to me when I'm working with these pencils, and if it's unexpected behavior, it can be very frustrating. It's really hard to get rid of these pencils once you apply them. Okay, now I'm going with black in to add this sweet definition. And I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just slightly touching the paper. Okay, I think this will be enough. So with layering is just going back and forth and layering and looking at the result and adding a little bit more layers if you want to. It's just a matter of your preferences, what you want to create. So my recommendation, just keep the mind open, be careful, pay attention to what you are doing. I think this is the reason why the coloring was considered as anti-stress activity, is because you really, to achieve good results, you really have to be very mindful about what you're doing, and it leaves actually no space for any other thoughts in your head. It's even hard for me to talk to you guys when I'm coloring, because I'm so into the process. Okay, and now just to show you, I would not use the white pencil yet if I was alone, but just to show you how it actually looks like. So with white, you should remember that white pick up a lot of pigment when you're working with it. So if you're just going like this, you will just move all the pigment around and there will be no prominent highlights on your page. I know it because I did this mistake a lot. So when you want to smudge a bit with white, you should go from the highlight to all sides like this. It will smooth your surface a bit, so it will add this very, very smooth result. And the thing is, if you're doing it, you're making your surface more matte. So if you want your surface to look really shiny, just skip this step, because when your highlight is very prominent, the surface will be perceived as more shiny one. But if your highlight is very smoothly going into the colors, it will be perceived as more matte surface. Okay, so we did these first two details. Now let's go to the blade, and I will show you how to create this hairy-like texture on your metal, and how to create the transition between gold and green. So the length of this blade is approximately the same as for this left one. So we can imitate the colors on our left side. And I told you that I have a very convoluted process for the gold in this piece. And now you will see why I said so. So we have these three pencils as our main color combination. It's 283 Polychromos, 180 Polychromos, and 940 Prismacolors. And we have two additional colors. It's 108 and Polychromos and 188 Polychromos. So why do we need the additional colors? We will create the main shades with these three colors, but these colors, the yellow one and the red one, we will use them if we need to add some interest to our detail. And we will use them differently in the different places of our piece. So if we go closer to the purple, we will use more of this red. If we go closer to the green, we will use less of both, and we will use a bit of the yellow everywhere. Okay, I hope that once I will start to color, it will be more obvious what the hell I'm talking about. Also, we will use 1095 of Prismacolor for our deepest shadows in the gold combination. I know this is black raspberry, So it's a purple shade, but when you combine it with brown, it will make your color deeper and more dark. And this actually works really nice to connect these colors with our purple gradient. So sorry, I'm talking too much. I will try to limit my talking. Okay, we will start with the green. We'll start from this side with the dark green. So Kirby always giving us some clues to where we can put our shadows. Sometimes I use them, sometimes not. It really depends on the situation. So for creating this texture, we will just use these very strokey motions with our pencils. I don't know whether it's even a word at this point, but whatever. So we're doing it like this. Also, I recommend you to put a little bit of green in your darkest shadows. They will be almost black, but if you put a bit of color, it will add a bit of interest to this otherwise just pure black places. Yeah, something like this. Also to highlight these areas, to separate them from our main piece, we will add a bit of yellow to it, but later. Okay, so we established our darkest point. Now let's add a bit of yellow. At this here we can already go a bit heavier with the yellow, with our middle tone, because we're already not so close to the green zone. I'm doing very light. I'm going very light with pressing. I am pressing the pencil very slightly, so don't press it too hard. Okay, now we need to decide whether this line means that this part of the object is deeper, or on the contrary, closer to the surface. So whether we will put shadows on this part or on the inner part. I think that I will prefer to go outside. So we will add our shadows. We will use a bit of green here. And a bit of brown there. We don't use purple yet. And we have these like holes here. I will just add pure black to them. But you can do it in the last minute after you applied all the colors. As I already said, black usually goes very well on top of any amount of layers you would like on the tire acrylic. So on the tire acrylic paint, keep that in mind. Okay, now we will just add a bit more black to our darkest spots. I'm not pressing too hard, I'm just making this slight note to myself. And also we need to add definition between previous element and this element. We will do this with a slight amount of green and then go inside with black pencils, adding even more definition. I'm not pressing too hard on this step as well. Okay. Okay, making sure we can see all the details separately. Okay. What next? We have shades from this side, so I'm picking the darkest brown in my combo. I want to sharpen it a little bit. Okay, so with my darkest brown, I'm creating this texture stuff. Okay, something like this. Now we need our, I think if we compare the length, it will be somewhere like this. The purple will end. So yeah, I would add a little bit of red to this combination. Just a slight touch in the darkest spot. And now we go with our lighter brown. But don't go overboard with middle tones. Middle tones are just here to soften the transitions, so we don't use them a lot. We need to add definition to this piece. Don't press in too hard. You don't need to press on your pencils at all when you're working with acrylic paints for initial layer. Okay. Now I go with our highlight pencil, but it's not our highlight. Our highlight is white. So remember this, when you're adding even slight touch of color, it's already not a highlight for the metal. Because for metal, highlight is pure white. And now we go with our green to make everything here a bit greener and not so yellow. We're leaving some spaces for highlights, but mostly at this point we're just covering. Okay. There are some pencil strokes with which I'm not very proud, but it is what it is. This is one of my favorite phrases I'm using when I'm coloring. It is what it is. You can't do a lot with it at this point. Okay. So we established our initial layers. As you can see, it's very different from what we have on the left, and we will achieve this bright result with time. Now, what will actually make this piece work is our edges. So for edges, I recommend use a lot more yellow to make them look bright. We will still use we will not use green, so I didn't use green here. It adds a little bit of interest to the piece, but we will use our green middle tone and we will use our dark brown tone. So I'm starting with shadows. Look, it's just my way to establish shadows on these edges. You can place your highlights as you like. So yeah, I made a slight mistake here. electric eraser, always here to help. So I smudged the edge a little bit. This part of the process, where you placing your highlights, where you're placing your shadows with metal, is pure creativity. It's like, it's really not about the realism. It's really not, it's all about your perception, because metal is extremely chaotic material. So there are some rules with which you can predict where your highlight will be, but for the most part it just doesn't matter. You should really think about the perception and what you like as an artist it to be. So I know it's a very I don't know, slippery slope topic about what the art is and where and when you can say that, okay, this is an art and you're an artist doing it, and this is not. And I know that a lot of people don't consider coloring an art, and I say bullshit. Because yeah, you're just co-creating with the person who created the line art. We're calling movies an art, and it's collectively made art. I don't know, do you get what I'm saying? But yeah, I think it's not. It's a form of art. I'm just co-creating with Kirby Resents, and to some extent with you guys, because talking and doing the process is not the same as just doing the process. Yeah, I'm adding a bit of yellow. I don't like this part. We will need to think about some others. Other idea how to add highlight here, because now as it is now, I don't like this piece. So let's try to add a slight more definition with our brown to separate the two zones. I don't think that it is usually the best idea, but it is the easiest way to work with this sort of places. Sometimes the easiest way just works, and it's fine. It's fine. Okay. Let's add a bit yellow to our main piece, because it's look too plain as it's now. Just very, very light strokes. Just a slight touch of yellow. Okay. That's it. Now I want to add a bit of light yellow. Sand. It's the name of the paper, the pencil. Sand. Okay. Like here. You can also play with the amount of shine you add to a metal by hiding or making the white spot more prominent. And now we smudge everything with white. Something like this. We'll lighten it up. And here just slight touch. Okay. Okay, all right. Now let's add a bit red here. Yeah, like this effect here. Okay. And there as well. As you can see, a lot of this process is just me experimenting with what I see. Okay, now I'm picking the black raspberry Prismacolor and adding it to our darkest shadows. Look how much definition we added without using black. I think it's really cool. Okay, I think that this highlight is a bit too big for this piece, so we will add a bit of middle tone, especially for these areas. So yeah, what I was talking about is, as you can see, this process is not a strict recipe. So you can just play with colors and do what you prefer, what you like. So you might not be the fan of some decisions I'm doing here. I may be not the fan of some decisions I'm doing here, to be honest. But by trying, so you try, you see the result, you evaluate your satisfaction with the result you see, then you make an adjustment if you can, or letting it go if you can't, and just doing some sort of other decision, making other decision on the next place you are working on. So yeah, this is what's called learning, basically. I think I went too dark, but that's okay, that's fine. Now I want to pick 187 and add a little bit of this color to our darkest places, because I think I went too dark. And now let's pick our white. Remember that while white is the easiest way to make something lighter, it also destroys the saturation of the color. So our, for example, pastel colors are basically the colors where we just added a lot of white. So remember that sometimes it's better to leave this as it is because of the saturation. And I did not follow my own advice. And I want you to show a little bit of magic. So after you finished with the detail, I prefer to put shadows as if the light is strictly above the butterfly. So our shades for this object, for example, will go here and to this side as well. So I'm adding this shadow. It will immediately make your detail pop. As I said, basically recreating the black lines, but on our terms. So you see, it's making our details a bit more 3D. Oh, sorry, the camera is so shaky. It's just I pinned it to the table. I have no other place in this setup to, yeah, to have the camera, so sorry guys. It will be like this. Okay, so our detail is a lot more 3D now. So now let's go back to our darkest spots here, and we will add a bit more green to it. But what we will really do is add black. And you will see how much difference it will make. But before it, we need our middle tone. As I said, a really long process. This footage is already 1 hour long, and we just considered only two colors in this piece. You can go a lot rougher with your piece, so you can just skip a lot of steps I'm making. I'm just enjoying the process to some extent, and yeah, trying to achieve the best result I can. This is part of the reason why it's taken me so long. And also, I'm not in a hurry. I don't like my hobby to become this, you know, hurry up and enjoy the result, not the process. It's not my love story. Sorry. Okay, I want to add some yellow here. I think we lost a little bit of this definition. So I will add a bit of black, just a slight touch. This zone will not be shiny at all, because I don't want it to. It's the only reason. We could make a very bright highlight here. It would suit the metal texture. It would be fine, but I don't want it to look like this. Okay, so yeah, that's it here. Now let's add a bit of white for our highlights. All right, I think now the contrast is, well, it's not fine. I will add a little more. Now I'm pressing my pencil slightly more because our tooth is already quite full. So we need to press a bit more, but that's fine. That's called burnishing when you're pressing more and more. Okay, I think this is starting to look very nice. Yeah, I like it now. So now we have this detail, but I think I will skip it because I want to show you more transitions. I think you got the idea that we need to add dark or light spots first, then we are going darker or lighter, and then deepening the shadows and adding highlights, yada yada yada. So I think you got this part. Now let's move to the part where we are working on the transition between purple and gold. We have purple combination. This combination I already talked about. And we have our gold combination. So we exclude green from our pencils we work with, and we have all of this and our purple combination, black and white separately. So I will start from the golden edge and then move to the purple one. Okay, so for the golden, we don't need this shade anymore. So we will have these colors pencils. Oh, they're so shiny, but I think you can see them. Okay, now let's do the work. In this example, on this detail, I will just cover these holes, small holes, and I will go into it later. Okay, we have quite complicated detail because I think this line is supposed to separate the part that is like lower than the other one. So I will make this part higher and this part lower. This is why we're adding a bit of shading here. And we will work with one highlight here in the middle. Another highlight will be on this edge closer to the edge. And this edge will be slightly like a secondary reflection tone. So you will see what the hell I'm talking about in a minute. Okay. We established our darkest spots with brown. Now let's go in with our mid-tone for the gold, for the bright gold, not for the muted gold. Just adding a little bit more definition. And when we are closer to this edge, we will switch to the purple for the mid-tone. Your transition, so if you want your transition to be smooth, you should overlap the colors. This way they will mix together a little bit and will give you this smooth result you are looking for. I'm creating texture here, but you can 100% just go in with like just smooth layers without this texture. It will be faster, actually. I think it will be slightly faster. Okay, now we need to switch to our highlights. For the highlights, I work in opposite direction because of the smudginess of the pencils I already told you about. And I will work on this area as well. Don't forget to rotate your pencil to make your strokes thinner. Yeah, something like this. Now let's work on this part here. Just like this. And now I would like to have a definition of the detail done to see where the edge is. It will make it a bit easier for us. And now I'm adding this dark edge to our detail. Not dark, it's like a mid-tone. Okay, and now here we can absolutely smudge it with our yellow. I'm not doing these motions, I'm still doing this, like these motions. And we will add a bit of pink here. This pink is a very strong color, so be careful with it. And it's darker color than our light yellow, so you should pay attention to it. Okay, and now we will smudge it with different motion with white and see what happens. I think it looks fine. It looks fine. Okay, now let's just work on our shadows here, like this. And now let's make our shadows deeper with purple, especially on this edge. So this we will make this line like it's a bit off. Sorry, my mistake. Okay, for the darkest shadows we will add a slightly more purple. Very tiny strokes. Be careful about it. I hope my camera catching just some of the nuances, because yeah, I don't know whether you actually see the changes of my motions. Okay, and proper shading like this. If you want to leave this detail as shiny as it is, that's fine. You can add no smudging whatsoever, so it will be just like this, very shiny. But I want to add a slight touch of pink to this edge, like this. I like how it looks. I really like the transition between pink and yellow. It's very beautiful. It has very beautiful shades to it. So this is why I'm doing it. And I'm adding a bit of yellow here. Actually, I might prefer this detail to be like this shiny. Let's smudge it very little with Prismacolors, just very little. And I'm not doing the line like I did in the bottom. I'm doing the strokes like this. Great work. Okay, I really want to highlight the eye now. It's not an eye, but I like to think about it as an eye. And like the amount of smoothness here. Yeah, now I'm more satisfied. Yeah, I think it's quite cool. Okay, so here it will be already purple, and here we will start. This edge will be oh my gosh, blue. So we are leaving only our purple combination. We are putting gold combination aside. We are leaving our purple combination, and we will pick all our blue colors. And now I will show you the transition between purple and blue. We will start with dark tones for blue and purple, and we will establish our shadows. I don't think that our blue actually will have a lot of shadows here. Okay, let's let's think about it later. So let's look at the detail first. So this will be the highest places. The highest place. Okay, this will be our this area will be higher than this one, and this will be our like holes here. So I will add a bit of black here and smudge it with purple, with dark purple. I really recommend you to be careful with Prismacolors on this acrylic surface, because they tend to wear off a lot faster than polychromosis, and polychromosis wears off quite faster on this surface. So be careful with this, because yeah, you need your sharp pencils. Okay, let's establish the shadow, the edge of the object. Let's establish it now. We won't go very dark or press our pencils too hard. We will just add definition, so it will be easier for our perception. And now let's grab our mid-tone, because with purple in this combination, I want you to know that the mid-tone is quite dark, so be careful while using it. It's not this mid-tone as we use in gold, so be careful with purple. It's the first one. And the second one, the dark purple I choose for this color combination, is like really dark, so I would not start with it straight away. So I think we will continue the shadowing like in this detail. First of all, establishing the edges. We will need it later. I just remembered that we had holes in this. We had holes in these details, so if you look really closely, you will be able to spot them. And this is what I'm doing. I'm almost kissing the paper with my nose to see them. Like this. And one thing with holes, after you edit it, I really recommend you to use a bit of white pencil to put a very small highlight around it, to like make the edge of the hole visible. It will not make a huge difference, but it will make some difference. Yeah, now I think that this detail is in more interest to read. I'm looking at the camera, and in the camera it's a lot more smudgy than it is in real life. But as I said, a lot of it is going back and forth. Okay, so going back to our detail. Here I will add the hole straight away, so you can see the difference between two processes. Sometimes I prefer the first, sometimes the latest. It's just, yeah, depends on your preferences. Okay, now let's work with darkening our dark spots. 1.5 hours. I think it will be about 3 hours long. Okay, we're using the guidelines Kirby left us with his shadows and turning our head on as well. Turning our brains on. Which is, I think, the hardest the hardest part of coloring is to turn your brain on. Now let's add a bit pink. Okay. Okay, now let's add a bit of blue to the edge. I'm taking the mid-tone, 151. Slight touch of blue, like this, just a little bit. A little bit to make our transition smooth. Okay, that's it. That's it. We didn't edit our pink highlights to this part. All right, great. Now we're doing the edge of our object. Like this. Yeah, I think it's will look cool. I think it looked quite cool. Yeah, I'm looking at the camera and it looks like but in real life it's a little bit better. Now we're taking our darkest tone and making our shades properly shaded. Yeah, as you can see, it's like very dark. So, and it's Prismacolor, so be very careful. You don't have to press on this pencil at all. Be really careful with it. And at this point I would play around adding a bit of our navy blue, indigo jungle, our Polychromos, the darkest blue in our pencil combinations, like this. And now let's smudge everything with white Prismacolor. As I said, be careful with moving the pigment around. If you don't want your highlights to disappear into the void of the pink color, be careful with where you place your pencil and also with which edge of the pencil you are pressing, because I don't know whether you can see it or not, but when I'm working with white, it's picking up some pigment, so you can see slight touch of pink. Yeah, so sometimes I'm just rubbing it off on my fingers, sometimes I'll forget about it and smudge everything around. So yeah, just keep this part in mind. It can affect small details a lot. And yeah, it might not be noticeable if you're looking on the piece from the distance, but it will be noticeable if you're looking up close. But basically everything depends on your intention. Like, if you don't care that much, don't pay this attention. It's just my recommendation. It's just the way I'm doing it. No, coloring should not be so complicated, but it's the way I enjoy it. Okay, adding these spots. All right. And also, when you're working with acrylic, it has very grainy-like texture. So you will see this texture unless you burnish your page 100%. And it's something you can play with. Like, you can leave it, you can try to burnish page, you can do it differently on different details, and yeah, as I said, play with it. It's a creative process. And creativity is basically your ability to solve problems. So creativity is problem solving, something that we are used to think is a part of intelligence, but actually problem solving is creativity. Just some thoughts you can think about. Okay, I think that's enough. I think that's enough suffering for this detail. I think we should, yeah, remove this highlight from here. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Okay. Maybe remove a bit of highlight from here. Okay. Let's move on to the transition between blue and purple. So we will work on this detail. It will be mostly blue. It will have slight touches of purple, like here, but mostly it will be blue. I will work only on the inside of the detail. This video is already taking a lot longer than I expected. And we will start with our dark blue, and from this edge. And one thing to consider, one more thing to consider I have for you. Remember that the color you're placing first really matters a lot, because it will go deep into the paper, and I don't think that you can remove it easily. So just consider this aspect as well. Be very careful with placing your first color. Just something I messed up on this piece already because I went too dark, I think. But we'll see. Alright, this is how you do it. Transition between purple and blue. I don't think that it's like very obvious in this detail because I added very slight touch of purple here, but anyway, I hope it's still visible. And with black I'm just adding this sharp edge for our detail, like this. So this was blue. If you still have some questions about how it's done, and maybe you want me to go into more details, I mean I mean, not talking about the process, just make one silent video where I'm coloring all these details that I left behind. So I just made the general picture, but yeah, I can do slightly more about the detailing of these things. So this is how what I did today look on a greater scale of things. You can compare it with the left wing. Yeah, there is some difference in my work with colors, but not so much actually. And especially if you think that I went too dark with the blue, you should remember that this is the inner part of this detail and the outer part will be a lot lighter, just like here. You can see that I went darker with the inner parts and very light with the outside edge of the details. Also, I recommend you to think about not the transition in the main details, but the way you can play around with the details on your pieces. So, for example, I left this detail behind, and it would be very fun to do this small piece with just pure purple, just like I did here. For example, you see this detail has a very prominent purple, and if we are use the color transition logic I applied here, it should not be like this. It should be yellow. Or for example, I used this detail to add a bit of green, and here I add a bit of very prominent green. And for example, here I used purple, and this huge detail I did purely with purple. And here and there I used a little bit of yellow. So all of this can add interest to your piece. So yeah, tell me whether this tutorial was useful for you or not in the comment section below, and also if you would like me to color a bit more of this butterfly on camera, I can just make a silent video with a bit speed up process. And yeah, just what do you think about it? What do you think about such content? Would you like to see more of it on my channel? And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe the video, and I will see you next time. Bye!